Hello, Barry. I'm delighted to be meeting with you finally and chatting with you, myself and Steve Evans here.
Hi,
I
Barry. Hi,
Hi.
very nice to finally meet you. I've heard a lot about you
Uh-oh.
um, through Terry and, of course, through Emma. Yeah, and delighted likewise to be chatting to you. So you're in LA, I believe. My
Yes.
nephew was there a couple of weeks ago. Actually, he was doing some work with some clients in Hollywood. Uh, he was doing some work with Will Ferrell, I believe.
Oh,
Anyway,
wow.
that's another story. That's another story. So, how
Like a
is LA
story.
today?
LA today is lovely, but we have a lot of lovely days.
Sounds like
Well,
Liverpool.
yeah, it's got to be better than here, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
definitely.
Drizzly, cloudy, and rainy, and a bit cool.
Yeah.
But hey ho, hey ho. Anyway, moving swiftly on. You've got an outstanding CV with 2 decades of industry experience as a film producer
Well,
and a writing consultant, haven't you? So, and you've been teaching new and experienced writers. So, what elements of your background are you most comfortable with? Is it the teaching, the writing, the production executive, or maybe a mixture of that? Is it anything in particular?
first, Steve, I'd like to just interject that when you say 2 decades of experience, it's important to remember that I became an executive in kindergarten. So I just,
Brilliant. Yeah.
I wanted to just clarify that. I got an early start because the 2 decades just sounds like a long time.
It
So
is.
No,
is
it's be 5 minutes for me.
is there one that I'm more comfortable with? I would have to say absolutely not, because they're all about story. And as I tell students and large groups that I'm speaking at, I'm a storyaholic, and I am proud and fine with being a storyaholic. But all of those things, whether you're working as a producer, searching for a story that you'll be passionate about enough to push a boulder uphill for years, and there will be days when it will roll down on you and crush you, and you will get up and you will push it again, or whether I'm working with a consulting client on a project of theirs and they want somebody help behind them to help give them a little direction and keep pushing them to get to the next level. It's all about story. I'm fortunate, I think, to have begun until COVID, to have spent so much of that time, the decades before that, being able to teach live and in person. Because that's how you get to really be a good teacher, when you can see. And I've spoken like at studios where there's hundreds of people, and I've spoken in very intimate group seminars where there's only 10 people. But the point is, if you're talking about some abstract concept, like theme, right, which is a very important concept to me, you want to be able to see that every single person in the room, their eyes light up with that aha, I understand her moment. And so to have spent a lot of time in different kinds of real in-person teaching sessions, it makes you a better teacher. You go, well, you know what, let me find an extra way to talk about that. Let me find another way, until you have multiple metaphors and ways to talk about abstract concepts, so that 100% of the eyes light up. And that's my goal as a teacher. So I love all of those things. You can't force me to choose.
Okay.
That's fair, fair comment. Fair comment.
But Barry, as Steve mentioned, you got priceless experience in the entertainment industry. Can you take us back and tell us how you started off as a newcomer? Where it all began for you?
I've written columns and blogs and things
Yeah,
called, lot articles for Script Magazine.
yeah.
Relationships are really essential to advancing in the industry and to be able to cultivate relationships. So when I moved out here just post college, um, this is funny. I went to Northwestern University. I did a double major, And my mother said, "That's very nice, Barry, but you have 2 degrees and no marketable skills. So if you think you want to move to Los Angeles, I think that you should become a dental hygienist,
What?
go to bartending school." And I'm like, bartending school. And I graduated top of my class in bartending school and got a bartending job in Florida, where I was from, and put
Yeah.
pins in the map to see how much money, how much money I had saved to be able to move to Los Angeles. But, at the time, even help wanted ads in the trades were like driver's license required. And I certainly had a driver's license, and it wasn't good enough. But my younger brother had reinvigorated a chapter of a fraternity on his college campus. And they had, he was working and then he wound up, after graduating, working for the fraternity, going around and promoting it, helping different chapters all around the country. And of course, they had conferences, and there he met this relationships, connections. There he met a gentleman who was the graduate advisor to the UCLA chapter, who was a literary agent.
Oh, okay.
And he helped me, and he gave me job leads and things to do samples of my story evaluations and coverage and things like that, and gave me job leads. And that's why I say it's a very relationship driven business.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I have a better story that happened to somebody who worked for me, but it shows you like 6 degrees of separation.
Right. Yeah.
But it's really, so I wouldn't, without that relationship, I really wouldn't have gotten my start. And I wound up working at that boutique literary agency. And that's just an incredible way to meet a lot more people. And then I like networking. So I would set up wonderful, interesting events and activities and ask people that I knew to bring somebody that I didn't know.
Okay.
But at any juncture in any of these careers, relationships are invaluable.
Now, on your excellent website, which is written behind you there, bigideas.com, it says
big.
Yeah, that's the one, big. Yeah. It says, "My mission is enabling writers to create the best possible version of their stories." So tell us a bit about that, and how do writers get in touch with you as a consultant and mentor?
Well, it's very easy to go to my website, and you'll find a range of different services that I offer. But I also do a lot of custom work. Somebody comes to me and says, I'd like this and that, like when the author that we know in common,
Emma.
It was what she needed, and what I provided was not, click here and buy this. So, and that's really, although there are some click here and get this amount of time and interaction with me, and I like multiple part consultations, so that I can work with someone, give them some feedback and ideas. I'm very constructive. And I tell people, though, expect honesty, because I feel that's not always the case. And I don't make any promises that, where people are promising, you'll get this and we'll get you published, and we'll introduce you to agents. And when they promise things that they can't really deliver reasonably, is a red flag for me. So that's what I do. And I like the multi-part, as I was saying, because then I can work with you on something, give you thoughts, suggestions, feedback. You can go away, take whatever amount of time you need, rework it, send it to me. I'll make some notes and thoughts, excuse me. And then we'll have another discussion. And then a lot of times I'd like a three-peat, so that you can take that last version and polish it up, and I can check and hone it with you.
Yeah.
So I have that's kind of one possible way of working with me. But I think the thing to know is that I I really enjoy altering my approach to each person.
Yeah.
Every person learns differently. Every person is able to take feedback differently. And if you discover what works for someone, whether it's, an example, or it's tough love, or it's, that encouraging and nurturing and going, here, look, you have it here. You've proven to me that you can do this. Now we just do it more.
Nice.
I just like to adjust for the person, but that's the kind of consultant I am. That's who I am as as a producer working with a writer.
Yeah.
That's why you said, which do you love best? That's sort of the example I gave about, teaching in person and seeing all the eyes light up.
Yeah.
It's about having all of those tools in my arsenal, so to speak, and being able to adjust to deliver what works for you.
Okay. Emma Bruce, author of the Pink Club book series, she said it was brilliant, her relationship with you. You gave her a massive sort of head start when she, on her outset of her writing, and she's really excited and looking forward to this podcast.
Oh, well, she is lovely. And I honestly, not only do I admire her, I don't understand how she does it, and is a mom,
prolific writer now. Yeah.
and
8
is
books.
so prolific. I'm like, I'm thrilled. I figured the first one, but I didn't think there would be so many more. That just in terms of what she was, I'm like, when are you writing in your sleep?
I know, she's incredible, the amount of words she does per day. I don't know how she does it.
Yeah.
No, she's just amazingly prolific.
Yeah.
Very proud of her. But again, what Emma wanted and needed, she had been recommended to me by a friend of mine who's a many time published author, and had also worked here in the industry and in film and TV. And he had suggested me. But what I did with what Emma needed and wanted at the time was not like anything else. So I'm always happy to do not like anything else. I worked on a innovative cookbook, even, so I'm always happy to do something not like anything else, and to talk to the person about what they want and need and how I can help them.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense, really. You've got to adapt to the person. As you said, you've got it all in your arsenal, but you need to adapt to what that person needs, and that's obviously working for you. Yeah. So you've got social media accounts as well. You've got a host of them, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Which one works best for you, do you find, or do you balance it out or do it to suit?
I try to balance it out. For instance, at Script Mag, I'm a senior contributing senior editor, one of those. And my monthly article went live on Friday. I was traveling and out of town, but usually I put a lot into the articles, and this one is exciting. It's about very talented writers and how they handle character introductions. And it has samples from dozens and dozens and dozens of screen. I could have gone on and on. I'm like, stop. But normally after it goes live, and then it goes out in the newsletter and things like that. But normally, as soon as the article is live, I like Facebook. And in Facebook, there are a lot of writing specific groups, television writing, screenwriting, book, specific writing groups. And I like to share the content there. I also have a Facebook page, which is Big Ideas for Screenwriters. Even though I work with all kinds of writers, that was what fit at the time. And I like LinkedIn the least.
I was going to say you're on LinkedIn as well. I was going to mention that.
I am on LinkedIn. I like it. I like it the least because there's so much. They bombard you. But I enjoy and of course I post to, I'm not going to say the other name for it, Twitter and Instagram. But what I find that I like is to be beyond the interactions on my business Facebook page, is to be in those writing groups, because people will comment and then you can interact, and there can be a back and forth, and people can say, wow, I thought that really insightful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because I have a blog and I have this column, but you feel like you're sending it out into the ether. I was at a writing conference once, and someone said, I read that article that you wrote, and you compared Dean to the peanut butter in a Reese's peanut butter cup, because that's one of my many options, many metaphors. And I almost blushed because I met someone in real life, because I think especially with everything being electronic, it was like, I met someone who wrote the article.
Excellent. Yeah. But Barry, I'm going to jump ahead. I know I sent you a list of questions, but because you've asked to emphasize on this part, so I'm going to ask this sort of a bit in advance. And you've mentioned in our emails that you've recently been involved in an online symposium for writers with a massive list of big name speakers, from authors to agents, and that will become available in November. Can you tell us more about this?
Yes, I am very excited. It's a really incredible online event, and it's called the Author to Profit Summit. And it's for authors who want to increase their royalties and to build a really big, thriving business around their books. And so they have, oh my God, they sent me the list of the sessions that are available, and there's, I don't know, like 70 something, I think. But really industry experts in all sorts of different aspects of this. Some people I knew, like Jeff Kitchen, but Tom Antonin, Derek Doper, Kat Anders, Jeff Affleck, Shelby Lee, Matt Stone. And it's all about, how to do all of these things online, how to increase your sales in social media, how to grow your fan base, how to use SEO, how to, entice your readers, find your readers and entice your readers. And that's just, I can't even, the list what they sent was so big. I just was like, I don't even know what to tell you, but here's what's really cool about it.
Yeah.
And we'll put up the link. There's free access to every single one of the sessions from November 4th to November 8th.
Okay.
Free. And I mean, I think, as you've seen, I'm very quiet and reticent. So when I did mine, I had some notes, and I just wound up talking about all the things that I was passionate about, and the different kinds of work I do with novelists, such as I work on query letters and, or pitches, or I've worked with a franchise author whose manager sent him to me because he had all this material and they felt that it would be well suited as a series. And so I helped him create the promotional materials for that, which is something that novelists would definitely not be familiar with, but is my thing, because as a producer, it's sort of pitching. And as a producer, you do a lot of pitching on both sides of the table. So this is just really cool because it will be free from November. The Author to Profit Summit will be free from November 4th to the 8th. And then there are options from the link that if you wanted to have it for a longer period of time or something, that you can pay a small amount, but free is a good price.
Yeah, you got to get a massive response to that, aren't you?
Free is a pretty good price.
Yeah, it's a bit.
And so one of the things that I'm doing with that is I will be giving out once people have signed up, they can email me. You can find it on my website, or it's Barri at bigbigideas.com, and say book summit. And I'm going to send this really cool downloadable PDF all about log lines and how to write them, because, the kind of writing that's required for a novel or a screenplay is a completely different kind of writing than is required in a query letter or in a pitch. It's completely different kind of writing. And so that's one of the things that I help people with. And if people sign up on my website for my ever so occasional newsletter. Once you sign up, you can, oh yes, it's been very occasional this year. You automatically get a mini logline consult where you can send me a logline, title, genre, logline, and I send back some written feedback.
Excellent. Excellent.
You've worked with some of the big giants in the film industry, you know, Warner's, Disney, Universal, and so on. How difficult is it to connect with the executives or big names of these companies? Was it a real shoehorn to try and get in, or is there a way that you
I've had the privilege in my career of working for some really talented and very highly respected people. I started with Bruce Evins, no relation, spells it different, and Ray Gideon, who are writer, producer, directors, and who did Stand By Me, Starman, Mr. Brooks, many, many other films. So when I said, when I'm working for them and, they're looking to me to find books that are as yet unpublished, I'm talking to literary agents all over New York. They were interested in playwrights, since playwrights can do very wonderfully crossing over into especially television, but film as well. And many people, such as Aaron Sorkin and Aaron Ball, started as playwrights. Plays are very dialogue driven.
Yeah.
You get very, very, very big, you build very big dialogue muscles. And so, when I say this is who I'm working for and this is what we would like to find, those doors open. And then in the latter part of my career, I was president of Deborah Hill's company.
Yeah.
And Deborah was the producer of the Halloween franchise, and The Fisher King, and Clue, and one of the Pee-wee movies, and just dozens and dozens and dozens of credits. She had credits come out posthumously even.
Yeah.
And I would set meetings with people, but what people have to realize, and I think that goes to the heart of this question, is that as and don't take this as a negative word, but as content providers, as artists, as people who create something, you have something that is of value, because all of those people who are going, oh, it must be so hard to get to them. They need that. They need your stories. And, so does it help to have people in on your corner? Yes. But that's where the relationships begin. So, you build relationships, but those people are hungry for stories. It's just sort of about finding that match. Yeah. So you want the person who's hungry for what you have.
But for me, has there been a project that you've been involved with that you've loved, but for whatever reason wasn't given the green light and is still out there, with you hoping it may yet go into production? Have you got something in mind?
I absolutely.
Yeah.
I have I have two. I have a YA title, book that I found, that I fell in love with. I had brought a writer whose work I adore. She wrote Reese Witherspoon's debut film as a tween, called The Man in the Moon, which was just a brilliant, wonderful coming of age. And this is a found family holiday story.
Yeah.
And it took we went around and we pitched it. And the writer, Jenny Wingfield, is very talented. And she's this beautiful, rich, deep Southern voice. And she's a terrific pitcher, but people do better. So, and we actually had some big stars attached to it at one point.
Yeah.
And then it was sort of, we started all over again, but we're now at the starting all over again point, and we have a really, really clear idea of how the book will be expanded to be a film. And we have really, because I am involved in different industry groups, I have a clear idea of who would be hungry for what I would be selling. And then I guess I may never get back what was one of the biggest passion projects of my life, which was the true story about a man named Stetson Kennedy. Yes, that's Stetson is in the hat. It was related to those people, and it was set in the South just post World War II. And it's about a true story about a man who I had the privilege of knowing, in addition to reading his book, who lived a very dangerous double life to infiltrate the most lethal branch of the KKK at the height of their power just after World War II, and lived a double life. On one hand, he was on the branch of the Klan that was out seeking to find the traitor in their midst. Yeah. And on the other hand, he was in his other life exposing them and trying them in the court of public opinion when it was hard to try them in the courts, and contacting the Superman radio show, which was about truth, justice, and the American way. Yeah. I said, hey, how'd you like to have Clavern #1 secret password? Yeah. How'd you like to have their oath? So instead of raising the next generation of Klansmen, Klansmen would come home and their little kids were running around the yard playing Superman versus the Klan. Just a very remarkable person who was really generations ahead of his time, a full generation ahead of his time.
Sounds like a brilliant story, though.
Martin Luther King Jr. was in kindergarten. We're talking about the mid 1940s, and I had Tobey Maguire producing with me and prepared to star in this dual role, which I think would have been an Oscar-winning award to have this dual identity and to maintain it, and the triangle between three men, the relationship that he had with the head of the Cavaliers, who took him under his wing and raised him up extraordinarily fast, and the relationship he found with the one honest man in government who he was working with, an assistant district attorney. And I had envisioned, at one point we thought it would be Brad Pitt as the bad guy. And I always had dreams that Toby, who's very good friends with Leonardo DiCaprio, would get him to play the other guy. But those are the kinds of stories that have always fascinated me. I thought
brilliant.
That triangle, the very complex relationship between three men, and nothing could exhibit it better than a dual identity where he was. So that was a passion project of mine for a very long time. And I had Oscar-winning writers from Children of Men who were prepared to pitch it. One of them with me and his pregnant wife flew to Florida.
Brilliant film, that.
And spent a weekend.
Clive Owen,
spent a weekend with Stetson, who would have been 106 last month, but lived well into his 90s, and spent a weekend with him and going to the places that he talks about in his childhood home. He still lives near there, and things like that. And that was a passion project of mine. And I had set it up many times at many places, and unfortunately, we were closing a new deal with a new company at the time of his death. Okay. So it made me cry, but I felt that was very powerful. I felt that was a powerful story. Yeah. And the other one is a very uplifting, found family, holiday story. Okay. So it's very different pieces.
You described them brilliantly.
I love character-driven stories, and I find that is where my interest lies, and the complex relationships between people.
Okay.
You've got no regrets about not becoming a ballerina all those years ago?
No, I have no regrets about not becoming a ballerina nor a dental hygienist. Bartending was actually, honestly, I think that what I would have said about why bartending was good is because I had two guys walk into the bar late at night after, and they were busy talking about a film they had just seen. And so I was like, well, hey, what'd you see and what are you talking about? And one was an editor and one was a writer who went on to write the RoboCop franchise.
Wow.
And the the editor gave me the opportunity to get my first internship in cutting trailers and promos for films. And then in an emergency when they needed someone more, and I was there, my first paycheck ever.
Brilliant.
Wow, brilliant.
So, but that's because I said, "Oh, really? Are you talking about movies? Tell me, what did you say to me more?"
That's brilliant. Yeah. But Barry, on that note, I think time's actually caught up with us. But listen, it's been an absolute blast chatting with you, and let's hopefully maybe have another one in the near future.
I would love it. As you can see, I'm at no loss of things to talk about.
Of course, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I could listen to this all night. It's great.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about stories, I could talk forever. But I do want to make sure that we share that link. It's a bit.ly link, and it's the number 4-writers.
Got it.
And to have free access, I know you guys will put it up, but it's a bit.ly link, and free.
Brilliant.
Free.
Yep.
That's pretty darn good. And then if you want it for longer so that you can rewatch or get through all of them, or you were busy that weekend or something like that, you can pay a little bit more and have more access.
That's loud and clear. Yeah. But listen, Barry, as I say, it's been an absolute chat with you. But for now, have a brilliant rest of the evening. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks very much for your time. It's been absolutely immense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it. I adore writers and stories and talking about writing. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so.
Been an absolute pleasure. Cheers. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.